Hi and welcome to Podpadstudios. Back out in the workshop building things, which is the best place I like to be. So, what have I been building? Well, if you've been looking at the previous videos, you will notice that I have been working on a 1/6 scale airport crash tender. Why, you might ask? Well, I will tell you more about that later on, but right now I'm going to show you what I've done. So, as you can see at the moment, there's loads of bits sticking on here, and I'm going to show you, if we like, a little bit of, we'll rewind time a little bit in a minute, and I'll show you back over some of the things that we've been working on over the last month or so. Obviously, we've done the electronics tests on it to demonstrate that it's all going to work. All the mechanical bits like the steering linkages and the drive systems have all been worked on. I've obviously gone through all the different phases of cutting the panels and whatever. So what you're looking at now, it's not complete, not even close to being complete. In fact, it doesn't actually need to be complete till well into the new year. But now you can see I'm sort of putting panels on, sticking panels on, finding methods to make things like this. Old baking tray, perfect recycling. So there's a lot to do. There's a huge amount to do. I've tested the water system on it and it works really, really well. Although we've got to kind of fine tune a few things. I'm going to go with, on this one, the, I think it's the Oshkosh, can't remember it, a Striker I think it might be called. The water cannon system on the top and the lower sections. That's, you know, where the water cannons are going to be. I'm not going to go with the massive big boom system. I was thinking about that, but I'm not going to do it. Give you an idea of scale. Here's my little friend here. Now this is 1/6 scale, so it's a 30 centimetre high action man. So it gives you an idea on 30 centimetres high, which is to scale, the size of this thing. So about 2 metres long, 60 wide, 50 high, no, 55 wide, something like that anyway, I don't know, whatever it might be. But it kind of gives you an idea of the scale of it. It's not going to be as heavy as the tank or the tank transporter. It's still going to be light because it's going to be carrying 20 litres of water, obviously, and foam systems as well. But significantly lighter than the tank at 100 and something kilos. So yeah, that's what I've kind of been working on, really. I've been using this horrible glue as well, which is awful stuff. It's amazing, but it's horrible. You just don't want to get it on your hands like I just had, because it just never comes off. I've got to find something to try and get that off now. I don't know why it's stuck here. I tell you why it's actually sticky is because it's so cold in here at the moment that the glue isn't even setting. That's typical, isn't it? We've had some lovely warm days, but when I need to glue something, it's freezing cold. Look, you can even see your breath. Anyway, let's have a quick look at what I've done, and you know, you can kind of get an idea how this project is progressing. All right, welcome back to Fun with Fire Trucks. Right, so I haven't really done any more structural work on the actual on the fire truck because I needed to actually establish whether it actually works. Now, I know that the motor works, I know that the servo control system works, but what I actually need to do now is kind of wire it all up, get it out and test it, make sure that everything is actually working the way I want it to. Most importantly, whether the single motor is actually strong enough. You know, I might need to add a second motor, I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to sort of share with you as well. I mentioned before about the fact that, you know, 90% of all this metal and wood and bits and pieces, it's all recycled. The wiring is also recycled. Now, obviously, certain electronics you can't recycle. So, obviously, things like batteries, fuse boxes, I tend to buy those because I have to, because it's obviously the nature of it. Things like there's an old RCD style fuse there which I'm using. I've modified it a little bit so I can use it. But interestingly, excuse me one moment, this is how most of my wire starts life. Now, it's out of old washing machines and dishwashers and just whatever junk I can find, because generally the wire inside it, unless the wire inside it has actually oxidized, meaning it's gone black or it's gone blue inside, you know, like the copper wire, is actually decent wire. There's nothing wrong with it. So what I do is I kind of take that, I spend quite a few hours, and I turn it into this. And this is kind of wire that I can now use. I cut it into strips, I colour code it all, and then I can actually use this now to make the things that I need, because I can obviously rate the ampage that's going to go through the wire and use the appropriate size wire. Sometimes I do get in a position where I can't find a wire that's heavy enough for certain things, and sometimes it's a bit overkill. So again, here you can see one of the main wires I've got coming from my battery. So even though my batteries are only running 30 amps at 24 volts, the cable that's going in is probably like about a 200 amp cable, because I couldn't find a lighter cable. But then saying that, that's not a bad thing. You know, it's fine. So yeah, so most of the wiring, as I said, is completely recycled, and I'll find ways to solve the problems. Anyway, I've got all this set up at the moment, and it appears to be working. So the next step is going to be taking it out and testing it and seeing if it actually drives. Right, so we've got it out now. I want to see if it works. Everything is kind of wired up. It's all makeshift, so the front servo's in. So steering, that works, and power. Let's see what happens. It's got a fair bit of speed, actually. Doesn't weigh anything at the moment, so... Okay, there you have it. Test number 1. Welcome back. I've done quite a lot more on the fire truck, as you can see. So what I've basically been doing is I've been bonding this aluminium. I think it's about it's about either 1.6 or 2 mil. I'm not too sure. Probably 1.6 mil aluminium sheet, and I'm kind of bonding it to the surface. So here, this bit here, I've done. So you can see now this has got an aluminium shell. This lower section is actually steel on the chassis. This bit here isn't bonded on yet, so it gives you an idea that obviously there's the wood underneath, which gives me the kind of the shape and the former of, you know, what I'm trying to do. And then this will be glued in there and bonded onto that like that. And then at the front here you can see I've got all the perspex, or sorry, the acrylic cut. That's still obviously got the the covers on it. But you can get an idea here. I'll do some close-ups of this so you can see what I've done. The cab is not finished, but the structure is almost complete now. And there's a number of other things. Like I've got the tow hooks in. I've got the brackets for the water spray and the water nozzle systems. I'm starting to think now about the boom. So this is a piece of chunky aluminium section, and that will obviously go up here. And then obviously I've got to come up with a bracket system and a method of lifting this. I'm still in two minds whether I'm going to go with the boom or whether I'm going to go with the I don't know what you call it, the nozzle on the top. Obviously there'll be a nozzle down here at the front, nozzle at the top, but is whether I go with the boom or not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I like the look, but we'll see how I get on with that. So I'll do a few close-ups, show you what I've done so far. We're still a long way away from being finished. But quite a lot of progress. All of a sudden, the shape sort of comes together once you start getting all the metal on. These bits here, the doors, I still haven't worked out how I'm going to do those. I'm not actually going to have them opening because there's no point. But they do need to come off because obviously behind here will be the pump motors. Excuse me 1 minute. There we go. So there's one of the pump motors. We've got 2 of these. And these will actually sit in these units in here. They'll sit in there like that. And I need to have access to these. So there'll be a door on here that will look like a door that can move, but it won't move. And the same with, I think, one in here as well. I'll cut a hole in here and this will be access to a door, but again, it will be a door that won't move. Originally, I was basing this on the Rosenbauer Panther. I've changed a little bit. I've realised now, doing a bit more research, there's actually quite a lot of crash tenders out there. Quite a lot of companies that make them. So I'm sort of bringing in different ideas now from different ones. So it's not really based on any one particular design now. It's kind of inspired by all of them. But at the end of the day, they all look very, very similar anyway. So anyway, I'll do some few close-ups and you can see what I have been getting up to. Right, so there you have it. You can see what I've done so far, and I'll kind of keep you up to date with what I'm going to do and all the bits and pieces. Paint-wise, I've got all the paint codes sorted out, and we're going to go red. I was umming and ahhing about the yellow or the green, but I'm going to keep it traditional, and we're going to go airport crash tender red. So it should look quite cool when it's done. Mrs. Breaker is also very, very happy. She's happy because she says for the very first time you've created something that you can actually fit in the van. We actually haven't got a van at the moment, but it's the thought that counts. See you soon.